So, folks, we told you about Aaron Gunn, the conservative candidate that had huge popularity until the moment that there was an article released. There was a investigation over past tweets that has now put him on the chopping block. And now another name has been added to the list, furthering the suspicion of arbitrarily cutting down conservative candidates for a liberal majority. So, from the Hamilton Spectator, it says community response builds as Lawton's past draws fresh focus. So, this guy here on the right, some of you may know him from his actual candidacy in St. Thomas, London area, but some of you may know him as being the lawyer, journalist, and editor of the publication True North. He's done some credible investigative work. He has been going around the block, covering a lot of different stories. True North is doing a lot of great, interesting deep dives that the mainstream media doesn't focus on or is afraid to focus on because of getting speculation by government or overlords or corporations that want to advertise. Who knows why? But True North has definitely been dedicated to bring highlights to the situation, which furthers the suspicion of Wild the Sun during the campaign, during the election season, as we're days away from casting our ballots, that all of a sudden, oh, these guys have a horrible past and we need to get rid of them. So, according to this article here, Andrew Lawton, the conservative candidate in Elgin, St. Thomas, London South riding, has come under renewed public attention following a report revealing he was a participant in a group chat used by organizers and supporters of the 2022 Convoy protest. That's the scandal. That's the big scandal, ladies and gentlemen. That holy crap, a guy who's a journalist, an investigative reporter for True North, was part of a group chat that was investigating the Freedom Convoy. Wow. Can the bar get any lower? Can the bar get any lower? Considering all the other scandals we hear from sitting members of MPs and other members of then the Liberal Party. Remember Randy Bossino, who lied deliberately numerous times about his identity to further his chances to further up the career ladder, to say he's indigenous even though he wasn't. Wow. What we would do just to rig an election. The chat included convoy leaders, lawyers, and figures from far-right media, according to the report published April 4th by Press Progress editor Luc Lebrun. Mr. Lawton's background includes serving as managing editor of online publication True North, hosting the Andrew Lawton Show, and authoring 2 books, Pierre Poilievre, A Political Life, and The Freedom Convoy, The Inside Story of 3 Weeks That Shocked the World. An April 4th report by Press Progress editor Luc Lebrun suggests Mr. Lawton was a member of a secret group chat used by Freedom Convoy leaders and their lawyers to coordinate messages on social media with right-wing alternative media personalities and far-right social media influencers. Anytime you hear about a candidate that has to resign and there's speculation and a bunch of signatures, you think it'd be something like absolutely wild and chaotic. I was expecting that, not, oh, he went on a group chat. But that's Canadian politics, because we've been brainwashed, we've been psyoped, we've been manipulated to tell the general public that if you associate anything with your money, your time, your energy, even if you give a second thought on the truckers, you are deemed a monster, according to the mainstream media outlets, according to the government, according to the establishment. You are a monster if you give them a breath of air. Truckers that at the beginning of the pandemic, we congratulated them for their hard work during the lockdowns. Mr. Lawton responded in an interview as a journalist covering the Public Order Emergencies Commission, which was in 2023. I was part of a group to connect with sources and share my work. I authored the only journalistic account of the Freedom Convoy, which is cited in evidence by the commission itself as a factual account of the protests. Added Mr. Lawton, I left the group chat after the commission hearings ended. Former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government invoked the Emergencies Act on February 14, 2022, when thousands of protesters, mostly big rig operators, gridlocked downtown Ottawa for nearly a month and blocked border points elsewhere across the country. Transport truck drivers said that they're expressing their anger with the government, particularly its response to the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccine requirements. The group chat on Signal, a U.S. open source encrypted messaging service, is called Canada Freedom Rights Movement, according to Mr. LeBrun. It was created in the fall of 2022, around the time of the mandatory review of the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act. The group chat remains operational today. Press Progress suggests the aim of the clandestine group chat was to help convoy leaders and their lawyers coordinate messages and communication strategies with alternative media and influencers. Many group chat messages show its members exchanging information, debating ways to counter anti-convoy narratives, and identify tweets to share and amplify, according to Press Progress, a non-for-profit news organization founded in 2013 by the Broadbent Institute. The Institute is a social democratic think tank established in 2011 by former federal NDP leader Ed Broadbent. Mr. LeBrun's report also claims the group chat members include key Ottawa protesters, including convoy leaders Tamara Leach, Chris Barber, Tom Marazzo, as well as convoy lawyer Keith Wilson. The membership includes Mr. Lawton, as well as dozens of far-right social media influencers and right-wing alternative media personalities from outlets like True North, Western Standard, and Rebel Media, added Mr. LeBrun. He said some messages show Mr. Lawton collaborating with and responding to suggestions from convoy leaders. Mr. Lawton's public persona has attracted criticism in the past. During his unsuccessful 2018 provincial run, past social media comments made from 2005 to 2013 resurfaced about race, the Holocaust, women, the LGBT community, and religion. He later attributed these comments to struggles with mental health. He was confirmed as the Conservative nominee on November 9th after a nomination process that allowed his only challenger, Anthony Shields, who was supported by MP Vicio, is that how you say it? Just 5 days to campaign. The nomination meeting was closed to the media, and several potential candidates were reportedly barred from running, some bound by legal non-disclosure agreements. The Conservative candidate may face additional public scrutiny this weekend. A peaceful protest is planned for Saturday, April 12th at Lawton's campaign office in St. Thomas. The protest is being organized by local residents concerned about what they have called the candidate's divisive history and rhetoric. So, I can't speak for the veracity of the past statements from 2005 to 2013 because I don't have it with me in this. But again, you have to look at the timing of all this. You have to look at the fact that this is a man who is a independent journalist, an investigator for True North, who has partaked in the Freedom Convoy, who is documented, who's been part of the group chat, also representing as a lawyer because he does have a background in it, advising and informing people about the Freedom Convoy and bring documentation, bring expertise to the light. Because he is an investigative journalist for True North, it just seems so suspicious that they would write a full-page article about joining this group chat to try to discredit him during the election run. Because nothing was said beforehand. Nothing was said during his time when he was on the group chat. But now they mention in 2025. as he's trying to run for candidacy in this riding. It's very, very suspicious, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there's more to this. Organizer Barbara Kelly said the demonstration is not about blue or red, but about rejecting extremism in any form, and pointed to past comments made by Lawton and his associates with convoy leaders as cause for concern. We are gathering to stand up for decency, accountability, and community values, the group wrote in the release. Racism, homophobia, and misogyny have no place in government. Really? Really? It's amazing what these people would tolerate. Misogyny, racism, homophobia from Justin Trudeau, from the Liberal it's amazing what they can tolerate from that. But investigative journalists who has a counter narrative, who goes against the establishment, goes against status quo, oh my God. That's the racism we got to focus on. It's okay if Justin Trudeau does it because he calls himself a male feminist by blackmailing his female cabinet members and the former attorney general. They are encouraging voters to examine Lawton's public statements and writings before heading to the polls and are calling on Conservative Party to reconsider his candidacy. The riding's NDP candidate, Paul Pigkin, said that press progress assertions are not my values and I just stay away and move on. So here, this is the protest that went on in St. Thomas area where Andrew Lawton is campaigning. And again, it just shows the hypocrisy of all this. It shows how it feels like this is a psyop. Just like what we saw with Andrew Gunn, a documentarian, a filmmaker. He does incredible work with his social media accounts to highlight a lot of the crises that are going on in this nation, especially the fentanyl crisis in BC. He was ousted. There's constant signatures trying to get him out of office, even though he has growing support. Majority of the people supported him, but yet they're trying to oust him because Andrew Gunn has a huge different narrative than the rest of the status quo political parties, the political establishment that's okay with safe supply, that wants the fentanyl crisis, that wants organized crime, that wants mass migration, that is okay with all this, that doesn't want to speculate on the residential schools. So here is the protest that went down for Andrew Lawton, and just see how crazy this is.
Only a mere week ago, I put an idea of a protest against Andrew Lawton, and here we are, 110 people so far. I thought I was the only one with a concern. Clearly, I'm not.
Say no to Lawton! Say no to Lawton!
We are concerned for a myriad of reasons, starting with that he jetted in from another riding and still doesn't live here and has said he will get an apartment if he wins. So he's really...
So, they're protesting for a myriad of reasons. Their first one they state is the fact that Andrew Lawton does not live in his riding. Okay, you can criticize. I'll give you that. But again, note the fact that you're concerned about this candidate not living in a specific riding, and not the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister de facto, who hasn't lived in the country in over 10 years, has 3 different citizenships. No anger towards that. No anger towards the guy who bought himself to become Prime Minister, who rigged the entire process in the primary to become Justin Trudeau's successor. No concern about that. But they're going to go after a guy who is an independent journalist and has a different narrative than the rest of the established quo, because it's a psyop, because these people, unfortunately, do not see the hypocrisy. They don't see the irony. These are irony-impaired people.
Really not a part of this community. The other is that he has a super problematic history with Islamophobia, racism, homophobia, misogyny. And while he responded to our protest and said that he had mental health issues, depression doesn't equal racism, Islamophobia, or misogyny. And so we don't believe his apology. There's no making of amends. He's never gone to any of those communities to have a conversation about the growth that he's made. So he's asked us to trust him, that he's different. We don't trust him. So we want representation that represents all the constituents of this community, not just white men, but everybody.
Jeez. Yeah, we want fair constituency. We want a whole bunch of liars and billionaires and millionaires to buy us up. Not just the white man. Especially a white man that has accurately criticized the fentanyl crisis, the homelessness epidemic in places like London, which is, in London, Ontario, one of the worst in the province. And he has been the only vocal person to address that. Again, you can say what you want about past remarks. You can say what you want about social media posts he said back in the day and his excuse of mental health and depression. Regardless of that, actions speak louder than words. Just like I said with Andrew Gunn, you can say what you want about his assertion with the residential schools. Actions speak louder than words. And I'm more concerned about what people are doing right now to deliberately go against us, go against the majority of Canadians that want an end to this tirade nightmare co-opted by the liberal establishment, by the WEF, by the globalist agenda, infused into our politics. We want an end to it as much as possible. That is what I'm more concerned about. I'm more concerned about people's actions than I am about digging up people's past. Because, yeah, people say stupid shit back in the past. I did. You did. Everybody's done it. There's no such thing as a perfect person. And if we dig through everyone's past, I'm pretty sure everyone would be guilty of something. But I'm concerned about what they're going to do in action. Are they actually going to commit to their campaign? Or are they going to just keep lying to us and gaslighting us like Mark Carney's doing? And notice the anger not towards that. A guy who hasn't been in the country in 10 years, has 3 different citizenships, has constantly lied to you. Who's avoiding press conferences because he doesn't want to address the controversy, his ugly backstory. Andrew Lawton may have said some things in the past, but Mark Carney arbitrarily went and defied against Canadians. No anger towards that. And all this because of this article. This article from Press Progress. Now, granted, Press Progress, despite this article, despite who this editor is that wrote up this hit job, is a pretty good publication. I will say that. It's a pretty decent publication. I've used them in the past. They're very good on labor disputes. They go after and investigate tensions between the union and corporations and privatization. We have used them in the past before. But with every publication, especially in this sphere, especially in this time, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, because even your most favorite publications tend to bend the knee and tend to lie to people. I don't know what their intentions are in Press Progress, if they want to kiss up to the liberal establishment to get more funding. I don't know what the intent of this is. I don't know what they're benefiting from putting down someone like Andrew Lawton. Maybe they're just going after the competition, because that's another factor of this, is Andrew Lawton, who runs True North, is a direct competitor to Press Progress, a direct competitor to the mainstream media. So, obviously, that's going to be troublesome. A guy who runs an independent outlet, very popular, running a campaign. Oh, we can't allow that. We got to squash the dissent. So, here's the chat. This is the supposed, anger, the scandal within of Andrew Lawton partaking in this group chat on Signal as a journalist, as an investigator, because he was at Ottawa. He covered the Freedom Convoy. He went around and spoke to people as an investigator. And You tell me how much of a scandalous, huge dilemma this is for the campaign, and why all of a sudden in 2025, as we're nearing the election day, all of a sudden, oh my God, we got to cancel him out. So listen to this. Bethan Nodwell starts off the conversation. Hi, everyone. Forgive me for repeating myself, but I'm a new person added to the Signal group, is unable to read the previous messages, so we'll try to keep everyone up to date. Welcome. The formidable Bathsheba has formulated a strong media messaging comm strategy. The language we use as human rights defenders is incredibly important. She has a presentation to share with alt media influencers aiming for this Sunday at 4 p.m. Would love for you to join. Blah, blah, blah. I love that her name is Bathsheba. Isn't that the ghost or the poltergeist from the Conjuring movies? I just thought of that. Just reading that. Bathsheba. That's the witch, right? From the Conjuring movies? I'm not making that up. It literally, her name is Bathsheba. Okay. I'm not trying to make fun of people's names, but that's kind of funny. So and then underneath that, this Eva Chipyuk says, thank you, Bethan. I noticed some awesome things today. Our leaders were shaken, and that was scary. Again, not the protesters. There's Andrew Lawton coming in. I see we're in the presence of council. Here's Andrew Lawton again. Okay, so I was only in Ottawa about a week, and I don't recall seeing any bodily fluids. Zexi Lee makes it sound like she was wadding through poop and pee walking down Laurier. So Andrew Lawton, being an investigative journalist, being in Ottawa, was informing people in this chat that while the CBC and other media outlets were making up stories about how it's disgusting in Ottawa, how there's a bunch of vandals, how people broke into businesses, how people were assaulted, Andrew Lawton, who was actually at the scene, is informing the people within the chat that's not what he saw. And that this woman, Zexi Lee, who we'll show here in a second, was absolutely lying to the public. And here's her actually being caught lying to the audience of CBC watching this. And this the same CBC that was probably in support of this protest to oust Andrew Lawton because he's a direct competitor. Watch this.
Violence of many kinds were inflicted upon the residents of Centertown.
So she said there's violence on the streets. Amy at the convoy. People, with bouncy castles giving up food that were dancing the streets singing "Oh Canada." There's a bunch of violence out there, she told people at the CBC. But now, here's what she said under oath when forced to testify about the Emergencies Act. Watch this.
Though I didn't often see direct acts of violence, there was a certain chaos on the streets.
Oh, well, I didn't see any acts of violence, but I'm pretty sure there was still chaos. I wasn't actually at the scene. I was at home just doing what my producers are telling me, what my executives told me to say. But I don't think there was actually any violence there. I just think there was just chaos at this point. So this is a notorious liar who's been on air multiple times denouncing the Freedom Convoy as some sort of maniac rally, a riot that was causing a bunch of violence. And Andrew Lawton, who was at the scene, is telling us there wasn't. And he's informing the the people within this chat that, no, I did not see any bodily fluids. I did not see any violence. I did not see any chaos that they're trying to pitch to the CBC. Here's some more of this chat here from Daisy Media. Or is it Dassy? I don't know how to pronounce it, but he says the radicalized communities in Veneer, LGBTQ and equity supporting businesses such as Starbucks couldn't get Uber Eats. Are these supposed to be arguments? I personally know of three delivery drivers that were working the entire time and delivered to the Convoy area. Even after police cleared out and sealed off the area, they were still delivering to that area, but had to get clearance from police and walk in. Andrew Lawton responds, I need to tweet out my Uber Eats receipts then. And then Eva says, do it. Okay, that would be amazing. Viral trend. So Andrew Lawton, on the right-hand side here, shows his Uber receipt. And you can see here, Andrew Lawton gave a $26 tip there. Andrew Lawton says the Veneer BIA, that's the Business Association, had told the Public Order Emergency Commission this morning that there was no Uber Eats in downtown Ottawa during the convoy. Weird. The driver who brought me my dinner on February 17th missed the memo. So again, they were lying, constantly lying to people. Oh, Uber Eats couldn't get out orders. Oh, people couldn't walk on the streets without getting assaulted. Oh my God, there's so much violence. There's so much hatred. There's anti-Semitism. There was Nazism. There was people that were anti-gay and misogynist. All fabricated lies. All of it. And Press Progress was trying to make a story out of this to make it sound like Andrew Lawton was part of this plot. But what Andrew Lawton is the journalist who's covering this protest and providing a narrative outside the bubble of the establishment. And that's why they're going after him. So Andrew Lawton says, as a journalist covering the Public Order Emergency Commission, I was part of a group to connect with sources and share my work. I authored the only journalistic account of the Freedom Convoy, which was cited in evidence by the commission itself and was a factual account of the protests. I left the group after the commission ended. So that's why he was part of this group, not because he was part of this ploy or part of the mischief with Tamara Leach and Chris Barber to do the destruction of Ottawa. No, because he was a journalist. Because he was trying to provide evidence by being in Ottawa to prove all this. And as I stated here, I said, as election day is approaching, two big-name conservative candidates suddenly have huge calls to drop out over past statements said on social media. I don't want to directly say how suspicious this is, but just to note, number one, nothing was mentioned at the time of supposed controversial statements. So, no hit piece article when Andrew Lawton was part of this convoy. Nothing was stated about that. Number two, the media hides the overwhelming support of community leaders and citizens regardless of the controversy. They don't tell people that even with this, Andrew Lawton and Aaron Gunn are still popular. They're still massively popular with their constituents. Number three, while this is happening, Mark Carney has suspended his campaign for the third time to avoid press criticism of his past. The third time Mark Carney has to step aside from his campaign because journalists have been asking him questions about his past, about his years in Brookfield, about his questionable banking regulations when it came to him being the governor of the Bank of England and almost collapsing that government, collapsing that country. The third time. Number four, Andrew Lawton and Aaron Gunn are two vocal voices on the homeless crisis, drug abuse, and crimes affecting their communities. Number five, Andrew and Aaron have big followings on social media, and Andrew Lawton is the chief editor at True North, a direct MSM competitor. Not only is this suspicious, it's cheap, hacky political hit job by a liberal globalized establishment looking to break their competition, especially vocal activists like these two, hoping the sheeple in the crowd will continue to chug down their manufactured lies. And that's what we saw there. That's what we saw there. And you notice how in the crowd, at the St. Thomas protests. You notice the kind of age of those people. You notice how there's not many young people in support of that. There was that one guy there that looked like he was kind of the out of the crowd. He was just there because maybe he thought he was going to get laid. I kid you not, he's standing there with the flagpole just like, I don't know why I'm here. My wife told me to do this. Maybe I'll get some. I don't know. I'm just here. But you notice how not a lot of young people are believing this story. But yet, it's sticking with the older crowd because when they read the media doing hit pieces on independent journalists, they're just going to believe it without question. Because why else would I look into things? Why would I go on to other accounts and other websites and do a little investigating to prove this point? When I could just listen to whatever establishment talking point they throw at me, chug it down uncritically, and just allow for democracy to take foot. You know, when you kick out candidates that are popular, when you rig a primary, when you install and coordinate a guy who hasn't been in the country for over 10 years. Democracy in Canada. Here's Aaron Gunn, the other guy that we reported earlier that also is getting kicked out. That's very disturbed, but not surprised to see reports of my NDP opponent busing an activist from Victoria to protest outside my office in Campbell River. Even more outrageous, this protest was being advertised and supported by anti-forestry groups, even though forestry is the bedrock of so many North Island communities, including Campbell River. I will always support our incredible resource sector and workers, and the Liberal NDP will not. And here it is there, my Campbell River now. About 50 people showed up Saturday afternoon to hold a protest outside Conservative Andrew Gunn's campaign office in Campbell River. The rally, organized by North Island Powell River NDP candidate Neil Johnston, brought a busload of NDP supporters up from Victoria Saturday morning to take part and go door knocking in nearby neighborhoods before the event. So that doesn't get covered in the scandal, that you're busing people from a totally different riding to protest at this guy's office, a guy who is a documentarian, a guy who is an independent filmmaker, an independent journalist. That doesn't get covered. That's not suspicious. That's not part of the scandal. No, of course not. We're just going to hit this guy for past statements. Statements he said a long time ago that was never reported, that was never covered up until this exact moment when they decided to run for office and they gained popularity. So again, I'm not jumping the bandwagon to say how suspicious this is, but the timing, the ploys at work, the rhetoric that's being spread around, and the missing information that is very critical to this argument shows exactly how suspicious this is. But this is democracy in Canada.